Woo! Welcome back to the second hour of LoveBabz, Love Talk on Babz Rawls-Ivy. I'm delighted to have the cast of The Ripple, The Wave That Carried Me Home. That's going to be debuting at the Yale Rep on the 28th, and will run through May 20th. I do not know this story or this play or this playwright, so I'm so excited to have y'all on. Good morning. Is it Shalia?
Shalia,
and Adrian.
Hey.
Two of the cast members from this wonderful play at the Yale Rep. Welcome to New Haven. Is this your first time in New Haven?
Oh, no. Me and New Haven go way back. We both are alums of Yale.
Oh, yay. Oh, so you know New Haven. So I don't even have to ask you to take a side on pizza because y'all already know.
But I'm also from the Midwest, so I have a whole different view of pizza.
Well, you know, we make people check at the gate what side you on with the pizza wars. So how y'all doing?
So good.
So good. Thank you. It's really great being in conversation with you, and we talked a lot about just like wanting to get in touch with folks in New Haven and make sure that they know we're here.
I'm so excited because I love the background of this story that's rooted in swimming, because you know swimming is a huge thing in our community, and so this has an undercurrent of swimming in it and segregation and all these kinds of things, and so I think it's just the right sort of time. And this play is set in modern times, so it's not like it's a play that happened 50 years ago or 60 years ago. Good morning, Marcus Henderson. Lovely to see you. Unmute yourself. So we're just getting started. Welcome.
Hey.
I'm gonna ask you the same question. Are you new to New Haven? Is this your first time, or you're a Yale alum too?
Yale alum also. I graduated way before these two lovely ones here.
So we were just talking about the play, how I don't know the story or this playwright, and I'm delighted. The graphics alone are beautiful, but the idea of this story that's set in such a modern time, I just love it. I love that, you know, as much as I love Raisin in the Sun and Native Son and all those kinds of things, I love that we are starting to tell different stories or hear different stories about our history and what it looks like in modern times. So tell me, each of you, what was it about this particular story that you said yes, that you said, you know what, this is something I could really get into?
Well, I know for me, growing up in Detroit, growing up in a city that at the time was like 99.9% Black, like a very, very Black city to grow up in, to be a part of a project that for me also encompassed like, how many Black women is it? It's at least like, it's me, Shalia, and Tamala's directing, a Black woman, and then to be in this with Marcus and like and then Christina, like to be a part of this really like unapologetically Black play that encompasses this story around activism and like what it meant at this time to want something as simple as to swim in a space that felt safe and to find joy and find play, and to have to fight for that really struck home for me, because my mother was like an activist back home in Detroit, like for me in my childhood, in making room for like a very Afrocentric childhood, which is the way I was raised. I grew up learning Kiswahili and French. Like it just is something about like community and building the community like this and being a part of a piece like this that just made me feel at home. This was one of the first pieces I've been a part of that is just 99.9% Black. So I felt really good. It felt like a returning home for me. Yeah, so that's what it means to me.
I love it.
Yeah, similarly, the fact that in this play at the center is a family, I think a lot of times we get to look on activists and their work, but rarely get to really think about their family, their humanity inside of the work that they do. So I love that you get to see, segregation, hardship, and triumph through how the family is doing, not just the work and the end result, but this play centers around Janice, who Janine is playing, and her reckoning with all the work that her family's done. And I similarly personally connected to this story because I grew up on a swim team. Like my mother taught me how to swim when I was still a toddler, and just being a part of this play has given me such a greater level of gratitude for even that access to pool and water and those pools and a separation from fear of such a natural element like water that surrounds all of us. And my grandparents, they're coming from Georgia and Alabama. I don't think I always knew why they seemed so proud watching me on a swim team, or why they would get so much joy of saying like, oh no, we have this community pool, like invite your friends, tell them that their parents could be our guests, like they can we'll help them be on a swim team if they don't know how. And so it feels like a celebration of how we care for ourselves and reclaim the joy of being around water, and the joy that we have access and right to this just as much as anyone.
I think for me, this play, I mean, everything. I just feel like I would echo everything they said. So more specifically for me, it's this character. I've had the opportunity to play a lot of different characters, and some good, some bad. But like this is a very complicated, real kind of role where a person is doing their best, but sometimes the best in them can also bring out the worst in a way, and I think that's any parent. I'm a parent of two, and I try my hardest every day to be better than my parents were for me, which is a huge feat. So I look at this character who's doing his best to just try to be a good dad, a good husband, a good role model for his community, and that automatically just like draws me to the role because it's so close to my own life.
Thank you, Janine, for joining us this morning. So I'm just asking each of y'all, what drew you to this play, to this work?
Thank you. I'm so sorry. Listen, technology be getting you. I was like, what?
Every day I have that issue. Don't you worry.
And it was my own fault. I didn't realize my laptop was blocking the Zoom. I was like, oh my gosh. Anyway, good morning. So what has drawn me to this play, this role? As I was listening to everybody else, and yes, I agree with what everyone has said. I think also that, and I don't know if the word is, or that investigating of memory of your experiences or these different scenarios that have happened with your parents and how they've shaped you, the things that you're still upset about from like, I don't know, 30 years ago. My father passed away in 2009. His name was William Edward Farmer Jr. And whenever I am saying these words, or Janice does a lot of this is a memory play. She's going through investigating these memories, trying to figure out why she is so hurt by her past, why she has separated herself from her family. And doing this play for me, And one of the things that drew me to it was just that investigation of my own memories of my family. Those things that maybe I didn't understand about my father. I think, we all are selfish people. I'm very selfish. I have no children. It's just me. I'm just out here living my best life. And I'm also living out the dreams of my family. And I think, as a child, we are so like taken care, or at least I was taken care of by my parents. I'm the baby, I'm the only girl. And so everything, I felt like they're here for me, but I'm never thinking about all the things that they're going through. The fact that they're just human. The fact that, they had never been parents before. They were just trying to figure it out. And so for me, doing this play is kind of like also investigating my own family history and giving my parents a little grace for the mistakes that they made, forgiving my father for the mistakes that he made, and having a better understanding of who he was. Yeah, that's what it is for me. Yeah.
So I love this because each of you are uniquely speaking about this play from a very personal place. And I don't know if every play gives you that. Like I don't imagine. I mean, just the fact that it's blackity black, 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 inside, upside, left, right. But it seems uniquely personal to each of you. And is that something that you look for when you take on these kinds of roles? Or do you like to have a little bit of separation between yourself and the character?
I think there are like challenges that you look for within roles so that you're not doing or repeating the same thing over and over, because that can get a bit mundane. But I think in everything that you do, there is a part of you that, I had to be reminded just the other day that like, that we take on whatever it is we play. Like we're artists in a way, empaths. So like we take on whatever the struggle is of the character, whatever the hardships are. We take on the joys. But at the, you gotta do the work to not carry it with you all the time. So I think that we look for roles that challenge us. We don't want to go too far off the scale, you know what I mean? Like doing some Heath Ledger type stuff, but I think it's just about the challenge. But when you find something that's so directly relatable, that matches your energy, also, I think that was a big thing for me too. Is when I talked to Christina about this play before I came on board, she just talked about the energy matching the character, and I completely understood what she was talking about once I read it. And so yeah, I think we just look for that.
Mm.
And I think it's the season
you're in.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I think it's about the season of your life that you're in as well, because I like to remind myself that there is a bit of me in a possibility of me in each role I look at, and I'm just like, oh, is this the avenue I'm ready to open up to, expound on? Because, it may not seem like it at first on the surface, but like the given circumstances of every character, I just like to look at like, well, if I was put in this situation, this could have been me. My life just so happened to have gone in a different path. But like the more we connect with the fact that we all I say this in the room as well, like at the bottom of the well is love. Everybody is searching for something, a drawing towards something they love, something they want. And for me with Gail, and I'm playing Gail and young, chipper, ambitious Black woman. Gail is Janice's aunt, a very lively comedic part of the show. And I knew that accepting these two roles, this was something I needed. I wanted more of in my life, of just like being unapologetic on the stage, like just commanding the space, and also uplifting my castmates, coming on and bringing the heat. And that's what Gail in particular feels like to me. And with young, chipper, ambitious Black woman, it forces me to reckon with the fact that, like I said, my mother was pretty much an activist back home in Detroit. And young chipper reminds me of a young version of my mom, which means she reminds me of me. And it's like, it lends itself to like finding empathy for the people that the characters remind you of in your life. Because that's why you see like, oh, I could do this. I can get in here because I know this person. Either it's me, it's a part of me I don't want to accept, or it's a part of like someone else in my life, you know? The honor.
Yeah, very similarly. Y'all just spoke about that so beautifully. The empathy is what really gets me as such a gift in acting. Like regardless if I came in with like the forward thought of like, oh, I connect to this, or oh, this is someone like really distant from me, so I'm going to stretch myself. It's always catches me by surprise in a really beautiful way, like how much expansiveness is within me. And I think especially as a Black artist, when we're a Black person in this world, given very small boxes most of the time, and to affirm for myself and for those around me, how limitless our spirits are of who we can be, who we can empathize and affirm someone else's humanity. I know with Helen specifically, I thought a lot about my grandmother, who would have been around the same ages as Janice's mother in this play. And just start to unpack too, like, what does matriarchy mean? What does it, what comes with, the roles of Black women in so many movements of freedom and social justice, to be stewards of our care as a community. What are the costs? What are the gains of that? And then also sometimes like I let myself be a person. I was like, I'm an artist out here. Most of the time I just have questions. I don't have answers to things. And this is, I like research, but this is how I figure out life's questions. This is also how I feel like I can be of service to others. Like, I watch what happens to people when they go into a theater live and they realize like, oh, I'm not on a film. Like, I'm here spending an hour, 2 hours with you, which means I am taking hours out of my life to not just tell a story, but to sit with you and hope you see and feel me putting value on someone's humanity, on saying that we together should look at these people and we can all learn from them. We can all learn something in ourselves, or right when we cross someone like this in our path.
I'll say yes. And when I read the script, I see my entire family in this script. I constantly bring up how Aunt Gail reminds me of my Auntie May Lee. My Auntie May Lee has been in the rehearsal room with us from day one. She don't even know it. I need to tell her. But yes, that really does draw you to something, because, I think about how often we, as people in the industry, and not even and maybe not even in the industry, but just like people in the world, how often do you get to do work that is about you? How often do you see work that is really about your family without trying to like make it clean and pretty? Let's be real what those barbecues are like when we having the family barbecue, and with how you see it on TV. And when I read this play, I was like, yeah, this is my family. And it is, in terms of like taking it on, this has been one of the hardest projects that I've ever done. And when I say hard, I mean in terms of like, Shalia was talking about stretching and expanding yourself. And my character is talking to the audience most of the time. Most of the time. She's on stage all of the time, except for maybe twice. Thank God for those bathroom breaks, those 2 bathroom breaks I get. But, you know, you're standing there wide open, you know, people can see you. And that's a really scary thing. And people can see whether or not you're being honest with them. And also like making sure that you are living up to what the writer has put on the page, making sure that you can try to meet the expectations of the director, making sure that the audience understands and is connected to the story also. This has been a process for me where even last night I got a note and I was like, oh God, another note, like an acting note, you know? I'm always getting notes. I was like, you know, because the director is really, she wants this, she wants the story to connect to everyone, and she wants us to be connected. And this morning I woke up, because even though I didn't want that note last night, I woke up this morning and I was like, okay, let me think about what this note is really about. Let me think about how Janice needs to continue to make these connections to memory and also give that to the audience. And I thought to myself, how far can you go, Janine? You know, there are many times that I think we say, ooh, I'm tired. And real talk, I think we all tired. You know, the cats are tired. But can I go a little further? And even as I say that, I think about all the people in my life, all the people in our lives that have gone a little further. I just think about how much they have, how much our people have done to give us these opportunities to stand up on the stage and tell these stories. Can I go a little further? Hell yeah, I can go a little further. I can take that note. I can figure out how to make this, to connect this moment. So yeah, like this is, I kind of put this up there with being in boot camp, because I was in the military and like, that was tiring. So this is a trend. But I know at the end of the day, when this is all over, this is not only going to make me a better actor, it's going to make me a better person. I have people in my life now, Adrian, Marcus, Shalia, Tamala, Christina, you know, I'm so thankful for them. So this has been like, yeah, this has been an opportunity that I would not have passed up ever.
So when we talk about opportunity, I imagine if I'm looking at Broadway, it's a good time to be Black because everything on Broadway is pretty Black. Do y'all feel that transferring, you know, because we came off the pandemic and we came off not enough Black people in the theater, like Broadway's so white, and Black folks stood up and collectively said theater has to change, not just on the stage, but behind the stage. Do you feel that as revolutionary? Do you feel that as sustainable? Do you feel like that's a wave that you can ride further? Like where are we as Black actors and actresses in this game? Where are we right now?
uh, Man, that's a heavy one. I mean, because I can personally say that, I feel very blessed and lucky to be able to tell many stories that involve the Black body, Black lives, Black joy, Black pain. I've been very lucky to do that. But I also recognize there are a lot of people who have not been able to do that and still aren't doing that. And, so as much as like it might seem like there's a huge change, there's still so much more that can be done. And I think it can be done in a very genuine way also, and not just a performative, as they call performative wokeness. Uh, so I think that like the strides that we do make, we need to celebrate. We need to celebrate right then and there, because you don't know what the future can hold, and you just you hope for the best. You always hope for the best.
Yeah, I think what's really beautiful right now is not just seeing the Black writers and like actors who are being seen on Broadway, but the fact that we're getting a wave of new Black producers. And just for everyone to know, when it gets to these commercial spaces, whether it's TV, film, Broadway, it is folks investing in not just who's right in front of the camera or on the stage, but those who get to create those spaces and get to promote those works. Like in the last years, like it's not just the new Black plays like Fat Ham that's up there right now, Ain't No More that just happened, but also seeing like Adrienne Kennedy, who has this amazing playwright for so long, get her Broadway debut. Also having, we were talking about Raisin in the Sun, but having Rain Hansberry's, what is it?
The Color Girls. I mean, Raisin in the Sun.
Bernstein's Window, that's going up on Broadway right now, just to see that what I think is most promising about this time right now is where I believe if we keep pushing, keep supporting all these shows, it's starting to show a real breadth and spectrum of what a quote unquote Black play is, what a Black story is. Yeah. All the different viewpoints and perspective that Black writers have, like being able to, there's a ton of Black directors who've gotten their Broadway debuts in the last like 2-3 years. So they can start to see like, what is our vision? And also that it does not need, white structuring for us to thrive. I think that has been a really, white supremacist narrative that's gone on that, like, oh, we need help for us to be able to tell our stories well or something. And the fact that, to me, what's most exciting is seeing these all Black teams, or if Black folks want to work with, other like Asian or, Indigenous, American, like artists, we can choose who we think we are listening to, who we think like parallels with us culturally and artistically. That I think is making, like I loved seeing, I don't know if folks saw K-pop that was on Broadway, where K-pop, Korean musical and story, teamed up with Ain't No More, and they started supporting each other as both of their shows were being pushed to close early, and to see that kind of community and to see each other in that way, that says like, we know what we're doing, and I see that over there in you too. I think that's something that's really beautiful and those are the things that I feel like sustain us. Like really the thing that's like unearthing the foundational structures of what does excellence in theater or storytelling mean? What does the business structure of that mean? And the fact that that is shifting. Those myths are being debunked right now of like, quote unquote, Black people don't like to go to theater. And I know Black families I know go to theater, they just don't go to your theater. You know, they might only go to the theater that's been at their church, or they might only, they enjoy story, but they're like, oh, but the way my auntie tells the stories and she's a storyteller of the family, there's no theater that sounds like her. When those writers and teams have been waiting to get the spaces to say like, oh, we want to be your, you know, special night out on the town too. That's my industry soapbox. So anybody who's trying to produce who's Black.
Yeah, I'm gonna just piggyback off of what Shalia said, because actually when you first asked the question, my first thought was, you know, I thought about Ain't No Mo, I thought about K-pop, and you know, and how these are shows that were on Broadway, people of color, and they were also forced to close early. And I think that we also have to think about the business of this industry, and it is mostly a white structure. And I think that those structures have to be willing to make some changes. You know, you cannot stick to your same formula of promotion and PR with a show like Ain't No Mo. When we think about Broadway, the people who are mostly going into those spaces are older white people, and a lot of them coming from the Midwest. So when they come to New York to see a show, they want to hear some music and a whole bunch of singing and just a little bit of words. Like, you know,
Janine don't like musicals.
What'd you say,
I said Janine don't like musicals. Just
you know what? But I like the color purple. But like, I think that, you know, a lot of these organizations are kind of set in their ways, and they're not willing to think outside of the box in order to get more people in those seats. You know, what's wrong with you going to somebody's church? What's wrong with you promoting on the Black radio station? Even for this show, I was talking to Stephen and I was like, y'all need to promote on some radio stations. I'm telling you, folks love tickets. Folks love to get a free ticket from the radio, you know? I think that these structures have to be willing to do something a little different in order for our work to be sustainable. It cannot be how it was back in the day. You have to make changes. Yeah, I think about that all the time when it comes to our shows, our work, whether it be on Broadway or on regular TV. How can we change the structure of things, and not only depend on those white structures? How can we also be the people who are creating that work? We cannot just depend on them, because we could be waiting all day. So
I think that's such a great point, because for a while, even when the We See You White American Theater started popping up, I was thinking about how, like, dang, if it's gonna feel like uprooting this whole thing that is like theater in order for us to like get underneath this thing and change the structure of it. But I think what's been cool since graduating, I graduated from Yale in 2020. Where I graduated, they were even bringing in like Black female dramaturgs and like, I'm thinking more on the artistic standpoint of like making things historically accurate. I remember when I first got to Yale, I was doing another Black play. I was doing Marty and the Hands That Could by Josh Wilder, Black playwright out of Philly. And our dramaturg was white and our director was white. So there was a lot more extra explaining that had to happen of our stories, of our like understanding of things that like really would stunt pieces a lot of times. And I am like seeing the strides that are being made, and of course, like, yes, celebrate, but I hope that we can like continue to investigate how in many ways artistically, financially, and on a producing end we we can do for ourselves, and not forget about like theaters like the Flea and like MTC and that are doing the like off Broadway or smaller pieces that are investigating those more gritty stories that that wouldn't make it to Broadway for whatever reason. It's a faux pas or whatever, it not being commercial enough. You know, I'm interested in that as well, because the spectrum of theater is like Broadway is the commercial wave. And so like, what are the rest of the stories that we can look for and look forward to as well? Yeah.
So we are winding down our time together, and I've enjoyed the richness of this conversation and just giving you all opportunity to talk your art. The Yale Repertory Theater presents The Ripple, the Wave That Carried Me Home by Christina Anderson, directed by Tamila Woodard. Runs April 28th through May 20th, 2023. So before you go, I want each of you to tell me, what would you like people to take away from this play? When they walk out of the theater, what do you want them to know, understand, feel, be excited about, whatever it is? What would you like that to be?
I hope that they I hope reconciliation is important to them by the end of this. I hope that they feel like they can leave the theater and call someone they hadn't called in a long time, just to tell them they love them, just to tell them that they're sorry, just to tell them that they forgive them. That to me would be the ultimate gift.
I'd say so. My character Helen, she talks a lot about the simplicity of joy and the simplicity of freedom, or that it should be simple. And I hope folks walk away with some grace for themselves and the people around them as we're doing this human thing for the first time. And if they're caught up in maybe a hamster wheel, that they return these simple things that brought them joy and look to who can they provide a very simple joy, a simple act of affirming their freedom, that's can be just as impactful as the huge things that we do communally.
Yeah, I'll echo Shalia and Marcus. Did someone already? We have this rule in the room, and it's at the bottom of the well is love. Did someone else already mention this? And I think it is easy in our lives to hold on to the hurt, and that's not dismissing that hurt at all. I think if we just remember that whatever has happened in our lives, that often some of those things that took place were based on all that your parents knew how to do, all that they had available, all that your friends knew how to do. Maybe they just didn't know how to communicate that moment. If we just try to remember that at the bottom of the well is love, I hope that that's what people can come away with and move forward in their own lives with. At the bottom of the well is love. And hopefully that leads to forgiveness and leads to like joy.
I had a teacher that once told me, recently, actually. My father passed last year, and I was having a hard time dealing with the loss, or just like I just was avoiding it. And she said, you won't be able to process his death until you look at his life. And I want them to take away that like reflection doesn't have to be a cycle of pain. This person did me wrong, but it's also an opportunity to see what they brought to your life. It's also an opportunity to see that they were doing the best that they could. It's also an opportunity to see their humanity and see that shared humanity and hope that someone sees that in them.
Thank you all so much for such a rich conversation. Jalea,
Thank you,
Adrian,
Babz.
Janine, Marcus. I'm getting ready to go hop a plane to Marrakesh, but when I come back, I'm gonna come see y'all and see this play.
Ooh, a good
So-
trip. Oh, yes.
So thank y'all for making the time to see me this morning. I'm gonna make the time to come see y'all. So break a leg, and I will see y'all soon. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
See you
Thank you,
soon.
Harry, my producer. Thank you, Harry.
Thank you,
Harry.
Thank you.
Harry.